The Chicago Bulls finish this road trip 3-1 and start the month off 3-2 after a loss to the Los Angeles Clippers. We're going to talk a little bit about that loss. We're also going to talk about the Bulls' current standing in that Eastern Conference and how the Atlanta Hawks are still keeping it close with the Chicago Bulls, and what can we expect for the Bulls over the rest of this month. We're going to get into all that, plus a mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content. So the Bulls lost by 10 points yesterday to the Los Angeles Clippers. And in this game, just to go over the performances real quick, DeMar DeRozan with 24 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, nearly a triple-double for DeMar DeRozan. Nikola Vucevic, 22 shots to get 22 points, 11 rebounds. Kobe White, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists from him. He also made 3 three-pointers. And this is a game where the Chicago Bulls led throughout the majority of this game, even having a 14-point lead in the third quarter. And, unfortunately, things start crumbling down. The Los Angeles Clippers kicked it into another gear that the Bulls just could not match. And then they won that third quarter, 37-28. Then we end up only scoring 17 points in the fourth quarter of the game to just kind of avoid, not being able to really fight their win and fight their energy or match their energy, and we end up losing the game. And that's just the way it went to. Now, we also had 13 points from Ayo Dosunmu in this game, 9 points from Alex Caruso to round out that starting lineup, 6 points from Torrey Craig and Onuralp Batum, and then we had 3 points from Andre Drummond. But other than that, not a lot from the bench for the Chicago Bulls, unfortunately. And it really just came down to the Bulls just not matching. And once that third quarter kicked in, it was like the Clippers went into a different gear defensively and realized, hey, this Bulls team is pretty damn good. Let's go ahead and stop them. And the Bulls had trouble really combating the length of the Los Angeles Clippers in this game, unfortunately. When you look at it, the Clippers did it as a team. Paul George, the only player to score over 20 points for the Clippers, he gets 22 points. You get 19 from Kawhi Leonard. James Harden strips in 14, 9 assists, and 11 rebounds. Shout out to James Harden for the triple-double. And then they get 19 points off the bench from Norman Powell and another 10 from Bones Highland. But Norman Powell basically alone outscored the Chicago Bulls bench. And it's that type of thing that the Bulls just aren't able to combat with how, it is. We got 2 of our really good bench players as far as scoring-wise, 2-way players in Caruso and Ayo Dosunmu in that starting lineup. And the Bulls just, we didn't have it. We didn't have that second gear in this game. We talked about in yesterday's pre-recorded episode how important it's going to be to rebound the ball well against the Clippers, who are the 20th best rebounding team in the league. They out-rebounded us 45-38. Right? 3-point percentage, we actually shot the same amount of three-pointers they did, made more than them, so that really didn't hurt the Bulls in this one. It was just that defensive effort from the Los Angeles Clippers in that second half that really separated themselves from the Bulls. And Billy Donovan talked about it after the game as well. He said this.
It would have been great to be able to go 4-0 on this trip. It didn't happen. I think our guys battled and competed tonight. I was really proud of that. I think maybe Casey asked me before the game about, the connection and them playing together and working for each other. I feel that's there. I feel like we're handling adverse situations. I thought the talk in the timeouts was good, when we came out of the third and, we're up 11 and it kind of went back and forth. And then all of a sudden it was like a 2-point game for a few possessions. And just like, listen, we're on the road playing against a really good team. Like, it's not going to be easy, right? There's going to be some runs back and forth, and how can we respond? And I thought we did respond in terms of our competitiveness. I didn't feel like we got frustrated or got taken out of things. So that part of it was encouraging. To me, I'm more concerned right now. The game's over with. I wish we would have won, but coming off the West Coast, going into a home game and then another road game, these games really come up really hard. We've got to get ourselves back mentally and emotionally, and we've got to be able to come ready, against Dallas, with basically a day in between, and then go right back on the road. So I'm pleased with what these guys are doing, the way they're playing, the way they're trying. I do think some of the minutes I've asked these guys to play has been a lot. And maybe some of the minutes that those guys played maybe contributed to the fact that we didn't shoot the ball particularly well. And then also coupled with the fact they're a really good defensive team and they're long, and you got to give them credit too. They did a good job getting out and contesting.
So the Bulls' road trip ends in a bad finish to the Los Angeles Clippers, but it's still a solid road trip overall. 3-1 over this road trip, and one that a lot of us were worried about. The only team that we faced that had a below 500 record in this road trip was the Utah Jazz. Everybody else had an above 500 record, and all the teams are slated to be playoff or play-in teams. So the Bulls fare really good. That competitive nature, I know that's a buzzword, especially from the Bulls front office. It was there throughout the majority of this game, and I, for one, am still proud of how the Bulls performed in this game. Yeah, it sucks. It would have been nice to, Billy Donovan said it would have been nice to go 4-0 on this road trip, but you're going to lose some tight games. And with all the games on this road trip, but this Clippers game, and that's just because of our inability to score in the fourth quarter, were clutch time games. They all came down in the last minute, and the Bulls just kind of, whether it was running out of gas or just running up against the length of the Los Angeles Clippers, that the Bulls just couldn't do anything for. And it's unfortunate, but that's the name of the game. You're not going to win them all. And the Bulls still, they got some things to look forward to. But with that said, coming out of that game, the Bulls now, after going 3-1 over this week, they still only sit 1.5 games above the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks team that many people, myself included, thought the Atlanta Hawks were going to take a bit of a dip after Trae Young goes down with surgery. He's going to miss the most part of the rest of the season. Well, this Atlanta Hawks team refuses to go away. 3-game winning streak they're on. They have the same 5-5 record as the Chicago Bulls over the last 10 games, but they won 3 games in a row. And that's the thing with this team. With the Atlanta Hawks team, when Trae Young goes down, you now kind of everybody moves to kind of more natural positions, right? You got DeJounte Murray kind of moving to a more natural situation. Bogdanovich on that wing for them, right? So, they're still a team that's playing pretty well. They've dealt with their own injuries also. So, we'll see how they face. They play tonight, so they can even gain another half game on the Chicago Bulls if they end up winning today, as the Bulls don't play today. So that's something to look out for. Now, the team above the Chicago Bulls, which, I've said that I don't think the Bulls can catch up to that 8 seed, the team that's four games ahead of us right now, and that's the Indiana Pacers. They lost Ben Mathurin for the rest of the season. He goes down with shoulder surgery, kind of the same surgery that Ja Morant had a couple of years ago. Or I think is that the surgery he's having now? But with that said, the Indiana Pacers, a lot of people are expecting them to hit a slide, right? Which could close that gap between them and the 9th seed. But the Bulls just got to take care of business if they want to hope to catch up to that. I still have my doubts. Again, both the Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, and the Indiana Pacers have all gone 5-5 over their last 10 games. And then you have the Philadelphia 76ers as well that are also in the midst of a slide themselves. They've been 3-7 over their last 10, and they're only a half game above the Indiana Pacers. So listen, all the teams in that play-in area are a lot closer than I think what the records would tell you, just because of the situations each one of those teams are in. And it really comes down to who's going to kick it into a second gear on the back half of the season and really take it to new heights. And we'll see where that goes, man. Listen, the Bulls, the way that the Bulls played over this stretch against really good teams, it leaves a lot of hope for the way that the Chicago Bulls can finish this season out. Now, yes, every game comes down to a close game because of the Bulls' inability to hold on to leads. That's absolutely a factor in that. You can't say that it's not. But when you look at the next week coming up for the Chicago Bulls, which you always like to do on Sunday, the Bulls have games against the Dallas Mavericks, the Indiana Pacers, the Washington Wizards, and also the Dallas. Did I say that? We have the Dallas Mavericks, Indiana Pacers, Los Angeles Clippers, and the Washington Wizards as my brain farts. Oh, it's Sunday, brain farts. So we have those come on the docket next week. Those are all games that are going to be tough for the Bulls. The Dallas Mavericks are a team that got Kyrie, they got Luka Doncic. That's always going to make it a tough matchup. Yes, they have their shortcomings as a team, absolutely, right? You cannot deny that. And then you have the Pacers, who always play us tough, almost regardless of who plays on that team. And then you have the Clippers, who we just faced, and we saw how that length bothered the Chicago Bulls. And the Washington Wizards, while a team that has had a terrible season, I don't really want to overlook the Wizards either, as the Bulls can't overlook anyone. They got players that can get hot and fill it up, especially from three-point range. And we know that has become that has always been an Achilles heel of the Chicago Bulls team. So we're going to want to hope that the Bulls can really keep that intensity that they showed up this week with. And will they eventually run out of gas? That's some of the concern from some people. We'll see that. But I think ultimately they got to keep pushing. Bulls have 18 games left on this season. And between them right now, the number 9 seed, and the number 7 seed, which is that last play-in spot, there's a 4.5 game difference. the Bulls can make a move here, but they're going to have to win. Out of these last 18 games, they're going to have to try to win at least 10 of them. And that's going to be tough. And that's in no way is that going to be easy. And I'm not even predicting to them to do that. I would love for the Bulls to just finish 500 over these last 18 games. But it's going to be a tough stretch for the Bulls to try to get to. That's just, it is what it is. They got tough opponents all throughout this. Yes, we have the 8th easiest schedule in the NBA, but as we know with this Chicago Bulls team, that doesn't always work out the way that it should on paper for this Bulls team to kind of close out games. So, a lot of faith still in this team over the remaining 18 games. They're going to have to play. They're going to have to dig in tight in there and face it at the adversity as a team. And we're going to have to find a way to get a little bit more scoring off the bench. I think that's going to be a big thing for this Bulls team as well. Last 2 games in a row and a little bit of that last third game, the Bulls bench scoring has been absolutely atrocious. We're going to have to try to get some more scoring and a little bit more punch off that bench if the Bulls really do want to try to make a run here towards the end of the season. But you guys can let me know how you feel. Now, I dropped an emergency episode on the Lonzo Ball update, but I want to talk about it. We got injury updates to both Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball yesterday, so it seems like Lonzo Ball has now been cleared for running and cutting. He's done a little bit of that. The doctors have liked the way that he's responded to it so far. It still does not mean he's close to returning yet. But Billy Donovan talked about where Lonzo is yesterday before the game, and he said this.
What's kind of the latest with Lonzo, if anything?
He's starting to run. I know we talked about last time. Some of the workouts have been, I think really, really positive in terms of running, cutting, jumping, doing those things. So he's progressed into that, responded well. Some of the things that I now, not with my own eyes, but some of the things that, medical guys have shown me is that he looks good moving. So just really, really happy for him personally for his progress, of where he's at. And yeah, he's cutting and running and doing some of that stuff now. Obviously, it's all controlled. There's no contact and those things, but he is doing running and things like that. Yes.
Does it feel like he's on kind of the progression timeline that you guys wanted him to be on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, with it being the beginning of March and him where he's at right now, and then, having really the rest of the spring and all of the summer, there's a lot of time for where he's at right now to get himself back, hopefully, where he gets cleared to play 5-on-5 in contact. I think that's going to be the biggest thing is whenever he gets to that place.
And so, again, there's a lot of time for him to potentially be cleared is what Billy Donovan said there. Hopefully, they're hoping over the spring he can be cleared for contact, and then they're going to make a determination then based off of it. But I don't think this changes anything that I've said before. If Lonzo Ball is not cleared for contact and cleared to be on the court by the NBA draft, I still really do think the Bulls still should look at filing that career-ending injury exception. And they could file it even with Lonzo Ball. There's been some kind of misunderstanding. Even with Lonzo Ball coming back and being on pace to be cleared, the Bulls can still file for that, and they could still be granted it. The thing is that there just has to be more chance than not that he's not going to be able to make a solid return back to NBA basketball. Now, with that said as well, even if Lonzo is able to come back and gets on with another team, if they do file the career-ending injury exception, there's a number of games played. I don't know what that number is, that if he plays over that amount of games, the Bulls just have to pay that money back to the NBA. It goes back on their books. They, as long as they use the exception before then, they're going to take a player off their roster. So we'll see what the Bulls end up doing. But, good thing to hear positive update on Lonzo Ball. The biggest thing is, like I've said before, until Lonzo is actually cleared for contact and ready to go, and then even then, how he responds to it, temper those expectations a little bit, and we'll see where it's going to go. Now, we also got an update on Zach LaVine's injury from Zach LaVine himself, and Zach said this.
Obviously, the first question would be just kind of like how you're feeling, what the rehab process has been like, what you've been able to do, if anything yet?
I feel really good. I get the boot off soon. Been able to be out here rehabbing, getting everything right. It's not a lot. I just have to wait for obviously the tendon to heal. But then other than that, it's straight away rehab. My legs feel strong, body feels good. Getting ready for another birth of my child. So we're all happy.
What about off season? Do you know when you'll be cleared to start ramping up stuff, and how will you approach the off season?
I gotta re-talk the doctor. So in about 3 weeks, I get the boot taken off, and then he gets to assess on what's my next regimen of going about. But I should be good. I think the recovery was 3 or 4 months. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule right now, so let's hope it stays that way.
So again, not sure when he'll be cleared, but he's 3 weeks until getting the boot removed for Zach LaVine. Now, what does this mean for the Bulls? There's no chance of him coming back this season, but it does mean that he should be full participant in training camp. He should be able to have his full summer of working out with his own trainers, things like that. But I don't know if that does anything for the Zach LaVine trade market this summer. We can see teams are going to want to look at his medicals regardless, or have an idea on how safe that is before they make a trade for Zach LaVine. But I still think the more likely than not outcome is Zach LaVine is suiting up for the Chicago Bulls at the start of next season, and then maybe he's moved by the trade deadline, or maybe, just maybe, some things that end up working out and he ends up staying. But I wanted to give those updates on this daily episode so everybody can get them. But let's go ahead and get into the most important part on Sundays. That's the mailbag. Hearing from you guys. We got 3 voicemails we're going to get into today. This one's from Reginald.
Hey, I know you. This is Reginald from Columbus, Georgia. I know your mailbox is blowing up right now. That's all the Bulls fan, mad about the Clippers game. But I don't think most of us was really expecting them to win. So we were excited that they got out to an 11-point lead. But just to watch it evaporate to 11 on an 11-0 run by the Clippers, started on the third. But for me, it's like, yeah, that sounds about right. I believe what the Bulls need is another play caller, a veteran point guard who can come off the bench and, settle things down when they're not scoring, whether it's, make the smart play, call out defenses, get guys on line, make sure they're not taking bad shots. And when it comes to what your conversation you had earlier, well, not conversation, but a reply from another caller about Zach LaVine, do I think he is, whether or not the Bulls should want him back? I think so. I just don't think it should be with Billy, because while some people might think Billy did an above average job on this road trip coaching, I feel like that's more on the players than Billy. There was definitely some time where I thought if certain guys didn't step up, it would have been a disaster. But that's just my opinion on the matter. I think Mark Eversley probably will get job offers from other teams, and if he does take that job offer, they might as well promote Billy up, and I think they should bring Zach in. Now, whether or not he's starting is a different matter. Maybe he starts, or maybe the Bulls pull a Golden State and bench him, and have him call off the bench like Golden State has Klay Thompson. I'm not sure. But for right now, my question to you is, should the Bulls think about re-signing guys like Drummond and Alex Caruso to extensions, or just let Drummond walk and trade Caruso? We'll be glad to get your opinion on that. Thanks.
Zach coming back without Billy. Listen, I don't think that's a realistic possibility. I don't think that Billy Donovan isn't going anywhere. Now you laid out, maybe he gets moved into the front office. I know that's something that I initially kicked around out there. And is there a possibility of that? Maybe. I don't think that is likely. I think Mark Eversley is probably going to stay here another year. You never know. Some positions could come open at the end of the year that I think eventually Mark Eversley is going to go to another team. He's going to become another team's president of basketball operations. There's been too much consistent interest around him. But I think overall as well that's not going to happen anytime soon. So Zach is going to come back. Billy's still going to be the coach. And we'll see what that ends up being. Now, as far as Billy Donovan's shortcomings on this, yes, we know Billy Donovan has shortcomings. But to me, we can't just blame the coach because of the collapses for the team and then only give the players praise for the way that we're able to come back in some of those games. It's 50-50. The players are also at fault for the collapses, just like coaching is absolutely. And coaching also, the way they coach down the stretch. Billy's done a solid job over the stretch. Perfect? Hell no. Great? But he's done a really solid job coaching. And the only thing is the rotations. I wish he just balanced out those rotations a little bit better. But that's kind of always been the thing that we've had issues with Billy Donovan on, right? But all right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Shay.
Yo, what's up, Haize? It's Shay. I was thinking, people are wondering why we always have collapses in the third or the second half, or why we got to hustle back and bring back our take the lead and all of that, and wonder why DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Kobe White are leading the league in clutch minutes. The real reason why is we don't have anyone consistently coming off the bench giving us scoring, and then what little we have off the bench is usually spot up shooting and Andre Drummond and Dalen Terry, who really are just hustle players and energy guys, and I feel like when you don't have that balance off the bench, you're going to have to use your starters more minutes than you would like to, and guys like unlimited team, and Dalen Terry, they're still finding their way. So there's not really a lot of balance when it comes to the starting lineup. I mean, there was a little bit, but now Ayo DeSumo and Alex Caruso have to be in the starting lineup now, and I feel like that has truly hurt us. So I feel like in this free agency, I wouldn't necessarily say worry about getting into free agents. I would worry about, getting some consistent bench scoring, because I feel like the bench does have good defense, but good defense only can bring you so far. You need someone that could be the consistent main scorer. That's one thing about past Bulls teams. We always had a consistent scorer that would always help balance out the starters, whether that been Nate Robinson or like a Taj Gibson. Even though he is a hustle player, he still scored on a nightly basis in double figures, how I don't know how Kobe White was when he was coming into his own last season. We just don't have that consistent scoring off of the bench, and I feel like that's what makes us use our starters more and more times than not. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
Shay trying to put on the quiet storm voice. Shout out to Shay there, getting your grown man voice in, my boy. No, but here's the thing. Yes, we do lack bench scoring. And as you said, a lot of our bench scoring is in the starting lineup. And I think that if this team was fully healthy, yeah, the balance in that starting rotation with Kobe's growth and stuff is a big question there. But I do think we'd have way better production off the bench. The Bulls are dead last in bench scoring per game, in both overall points scored and average points per game. And it's dropping because we're getting worse and worse with scoring off the bench. So that's definitely something that hurts this team and does put DeMar and Kobe and the other players in a position where we have to play them so many minutes. And then some of that depth, like Javon Carter, just hasn't been playing good for the majority of the season. So I think that you do need shooting off the bench. I don't know if you necessarily need a scorer off the bench, but maybe the team does turn into that. We see that Billy Donovan is trusting more and more, so maybe that paired with Caruso and Ayo going back to the bench, we can have that solid bench next year. So I like a lot of the pieces on this bench, especially if we can bring back Drummond or find another big if he does end up leaving. But the Bulls got some tough decisions to make in that starting lineup and also in that bench. But we do need more shooting as a team. We need more shooting to get that easier offense for the Chicago Bulls. So that's a really good call out, Shay. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Corn.
What's good, King? It's your boy Corn, man. Let's get right into it. I am very, very happy. I know we just lost against the Clippers, but I'm talking about the totality of this whole week. Hey, man, standing ovation. Standing ovation. Let me give them a clap, man. You know how I felt about going into this month. I've been speaking on it for a while now. And for us to go 3-1, now I get it, Clippers game, we let that one slip by, especially when it comes to the fourth quarter. But let's just sit back and just be happy for a damn change. You know what I mean? It's like when we lost this game to the Clippers, it was like, I see fans, they still argue. Stop being bipolar as much as this team is. We know the feeling of this team. Let me just say it. We know the feeling of this team. No championship coming. We a play-in team and get bounced out the first round. That's most unlikely. So everybody getting angry and losing their shit. Nah, man. At this point, man, let's just enjoy the competitiveness basketball that they're playing. Let's enjoy the growth of Kobe White and Ayo DeSumo and Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips and the team. Let's sit back and let's enjoy this rest of the season, man. We're 3-1. We start off at 3-1. And I'm seeing people up here still like, going all off on it, man. Shut up. Chill. It's okay. It's all right. Like I said, tomorrow, which is the 10th tomorrow, it's the 10th today, but tomorrow, 11th, we got Dallas. We got to keep this shit going. You know what I mean? We can't sit here and stop and tout over other shit, the losing and all that, man. No. I am so proud of this team, man. 3-1 to start off? Come on, man. There's nothing truly to complain about, especially the teams that we are playing. This is a true gauntlet. So, man, hey, I just want to see, like, the special word that Acme always say, competitive basketball. And I just want to sit back and just see the growth of our young players, man. That's the point I'm at this season. I know this team's feeling. I'm not fit to go out here, go crazy, get mad, lose my temper over a team that I already know what they are. You know what I mean? I love this team, but we know what they are. We know the feeling. So stop tripping and be happy. Just be happy. Come on now. All right, Haize, man, I appreciate you. Like always, King. Blessings.
I think we're all proud of the start that the Chicago Bulls had to March. 3-2 over the course of March. Of course, that 3-game winning streak, 3-1 over this 4-game road trip. The Bulls have started off extremely well in this, but they have to keep it up. But I think a lot of the things they've done against the teams over this stretch are things that are sustainable and can be repeated. They just have to keep their heads about them. And hopefully they, in that building that confidence, in building that continuity, in building that edge, right, that they can stop letting go of so many leads. And I think that's a big thing for this team too. If they're able to start holding on to leads, a lot of these games get easier over the stretch, right? And you don't have to play your players or play as hard in the fourth quarter. The Bulls just got to find a way to stop allowing those big deficits to come, whether it's at the start of the game and they have to come back, or it's in the second half of the game after they played really solidly in the first half. But overall, extremely proud of the way this team has played, the way this team has competed. Kobe White coming out of his funk, albeit last game wasn't the best, right? But I think that those things are all pointing in the right direction, that this Chicago Bulls team is probably going to finish the season really, really strong. But guys, thank you so much. That's my time for today. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.